This is Retro Spectrum, the podcast where we choose a band, listen to their entire discography, and then chat about it.
And this week, we're talking about Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah, so get ready to get funkadelic with it.
Funkadelic's the magic word for this episode. Take a drink or scream every time we say Funkadelic, baby.
Yeah, you might want to warn people around you because you're not making it to the end of the episode if that's the route you choose to go.
You imagine screaming every time we say Funkadelic. Although, in this era, a lot of screaming might be pretty therapeutic. Possibly more therapeutic than if it was a drinking game.
Definitely would feel better tomorrow.
Yeah, no shit. And on to the show.
How do you prefer your Earl Grey?
Hot. Always noise. That's pretty too.
All right, so here it is. I went today and bought a copy of The Clash's Combat Rock. But look, it comes with a poster.
Cool.
I can't decide if I'm too old to hang a poster of The Clash in my bedroom.
I don't know. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to say probably not.
I mean, you have a band poster right behind your head, it looks like.
Yeah, I know, but this is like the studio area. But look at this.
Oh, this is like
Fancy
the studio area.
red.
That's cool. Is it like a spray paint vibe in the center?
I don't know, maybe spray paint, maybe camouflage, perhaps.
Oh,
I think it's probably
that
a
makes more
picture
sense.
that is
Camouflage.
zoomed in and blurred out.
Well, Combat Rock camouflage.
But yeah, so now I own a copy of Combat Rock.
Killing it.
Which I didn't have before, and I'm really psyched about. And I already listened to it. And let me tell you, after listening to all this funk music that I've been listening to for the last 2 weeks,
You're seeing the influences.
I'm hearing it in the all the funk songs on here, Overpowered by Funk. It like straight up, it's not done as well as a lot of the funk.
Well, yeah, because it's not funk, it's funk punk.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, that they're doing a very similar thing in there. It was really fun listening to it again. I feel like the more influences we get, the more it's all going to be like connected together.
Yeah, which is fun. And it'll be interesting to see, the origin of all that music is probably all Black people or like tribal people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's been the story so far. Every time you look back, it's like, that was all influenced by Black people somewhere along the line.
Which was interesting watching that documentary, because when they were on the Fifth Dimension, they were saying like that everyone that heard that thought it was white people music.
Yeah.
I did not really. I mean, I got that vibe just a slightly, but not really. I don't know. I think it's fucking weird when people listen to music and go, a Black person or, a white person. It's just really interesting.
Well, and that was their point though, right? That it was like, we're just people making the music that we make.
Right.
And you're the one putting labels on it or, saying we sound a certain way.
But I wonder when they said that, my brain automatically went to like, okay, well, what about when white people like appropriate basically everything that Black people do?
It's like every song.
Exactly.
I went back and listened to Play That Funky Music.
Yeah.
You got to watch the video for that because you have to see what these dudes look like that are playing that
funky music, white boy.
Yes, it is some white boy appropriation, like to the nth degree. It was hilarious because, there's like other bands, like recommended bands or whatever. And so that song, he used the voice that he uses, that kind of like nasally funk sounding voice. I was like, I want to see what this guy sounds like that's singing this because he sounds so much like Sly. I was like, I want to see what he looks like. So I pulled it up and there's a video of them performing it, and it is.
Were you like, yee?
Astounding. It's just a straight ripoff. I mean, 5 or 6 or 8 years later, it's just a blatant 100% ripoff.
I'm a moderator for Dead Center this year.
Congratulations.
So I've been asked to speak on many occasions in my life.
What are you moderating?
They do an intro to the film and then a Q&A after.
Is it a film that you're
No.
involved with?
No,
or just
haven't even watched them
Oh,
yet.
so you're moderating the like panel of the people that are answering questions about their own film.
Correct.
Thank you. I just described what a moderator was
Yes, you did.
to myself. I got there. I figured it out.
Kind of like what I did at FemFilm, except there were no filmmakers there.
Or questions.
I know that was
That's good. It's a good movie though.
Yeah, I pick good movies.
So you just interrupted me reading the Revenge of the She-Punks book, which was written by Vivian Goldman, who I'm pretty sure was in some of the Bikini Kill docs that we watched.
Probably.
She's a music journalist from the 70s, I guess, that was also an artist and was in some bands, but it's all about the feminist history of women in punk rock. And I'm really interested in finishing it out. I'm about 30 pages in.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
But it's really good so far.
I really enjoy how jazzed you are about learning about a Bikini Kill.
I don't know. It feels like lifting up a rock and like seeing all the stuff underneath.
Dude, I fucking want you to go to one of their shows and get your feedback on how the vibe feels to you as a penis having person.
Depends. If they tell me to move to the back, I'm gonna be
the way she phrased it. The way
grateful.
The way she phrased it this time was chicks move to the front. So,
but each chapter starts with a playlist that's like songs about whatever the subject of that chapter is. So it's like 10 or 15 songs that are
oh my god, that's
playlists
awesome.
that are all by, which I think is a genius idea. So what I really want to do is make the playlist and listen to the playlist while I'm reading the chapters. But
that might be a little bit distracting though. I can't listen to I prefer to listen to like jazz with no lyrics while I read.
I like listening to music while I read. I don't know. There's like a point where I have to either be into the book enough where I can ignore the lyrics of the songs or it'll be distracting. But like if I get really into the book, then it doesn't usually bother me. It takes a little bit though. Like I have to zone in.
Yeah, I can't focus like that. I have a hard time because I hear lyrics.
So I went and saw Bright Eyes last week.
How was it?
The beginning of their new tour. The show was actually, all things considered, pretty good. He played with a 8-piece orchestra with like trombone and trumpet and some strings too, like violin, and I think there was a cello there as well.
All things considered.
So for all the ones that, yeah, you heard me.
What things are we considering?
Well, so I'll get into it. I'll get to that. So that was really cool. It's a really cool, like unique setup, that is not at every show. And so all the songs that had all the strings and all that stuff in it sounded really big and really full and really cool, which I don't know. Bright Eyes is kind of stripped down in my mind a little bit more like one guy, one guitar sort of stuff.
I haven't listened to Bright Eyes in a really long time. I need to revisit.
I was never a huge fan. The venue that we went to, I bought balcony tickets to see the show because, I'm old and I'd rather sit in a balcony and watch a show from up there.
Of course.
And when we got to the venue, the stage was not visible from the balcony. It was just like a private bar, and they had built a wall specifically so you couldn't see the stage from the balcony. That was a little irritating.
That makes no fucking sense at all.
It doesn't make any sense. Why have the balcony? I mean, I guess there was like another level that you could have bought to actually be able to see the show, but there were only like 4 tables.
Are we sure?
I don't know.
Did you go up there and see if you could actually see?
I thought about going up to the people that were sitting in the booths and just making friends with them.
Squeeze in.
Yeah, squeeze in.
Hey, scooch over.
catch the show. So that was a little irritating. We did end up finding a little corner that we like squeezed ourselves in where you could see the stage from upstairs. I mean, we could have gone down, but that was like, all the riffraff.
Honestly, concert tickets, tiers and shit has always been bullshit. Like,
yeah,
almost every show that I've ever gone to, I'm sneaking somewhere else.
I don't know if you've got Canes and the Tower, they both have legit balconies that you can go see the show from the balcony. And this was not that though. So lesson learned there, but we did end up squeezing into a little hallway that you could see the stage from. But we kept it was the wait staff hallway basically. So we kept
to get
in and out of the way. But he clearly through the whole show, very, 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 very inebriated.
Ugh.
And dancing around and forgetting lyrics.
Dancing around.
Yeah, it was like I don't know. It's like a fun drunk, like he seemed like he was having a good time, but also forgot a bunch of lyrics and had to like restart like 4 or 5 of the songs.
That is so embarrassing.
And it was
like, how long have you been a band?
Right. And it's like, you're kind of old for that, man. Yes. Like, it's not really rock star party mode anymore. It's like
time to go to bed mode.
Yeah, something.
That reminds me, I was listening to Tig's podcast and she was talking about how that's why she schedules all of her comedy shows at 7 p.m. Because she's like, I don't want to fuck up my sleep schedule. I go to bed by 9:30.
Love it.
Yeah. Same.
Love it. More musicians should follow
More
that track
people,
as well.
period. Honestly. I mean, can't we have fun during the day? I mean, Jesus.
Especially for the middle of the week shows. Like on a Tuesday, I don't need your show to start at 11 o'clock at night.
Fuck
man.
no.
And
Fuck no.
I'm old. I got stuff to do.
Man.
But
Getting
that's
old.
how I know I'm old.
Yeah.
But okay, so we left before the encore, but it was kind of the point where like heard all the songs we wanted to hear. Kind of, you know, you're going to get more of the same thing. Tired of being cramped in the little hallway. So we decided to leave early, which was great. We beat the traffic. The whole, you know, that part was awesome. I read though that like 3 days later, Connor came out on stage, sang 2 songs, and then left the show. And the band stayed on the stage and had like, they did Bright Eyes karaoke on the stage and like brought people out of the crowd to sing Bright
Oh my
Eyes songs.
God. That's so cool. If your fucking lead singer's an alcoholic, that's the best case scenario.
It's a great idea for the band to do. I would be pissed if I spent money on the tickets and they brought, you know, some drunken middle-aged guy that listened to Bright Eyes in high school to sing.
Sure, but
The
if you
songs that you
were
wanted.
the drunken middle-aged guy,
Right,
mad
yeah, I know.
fun.
I'm sure it was really cool for 3 people and probably not as cool for the other few thousand that were there.
I don't know. That sounds pretty fun to me.
Ended up canceling the show and refunding everybody's
What
money.
do you mean canceling?
The band did 3 songs
Oh,
and the
the
venue
show,
was like,
a different show. Got it.
yeah, this was
Not
a different
after
show.
you. I thought you meant like after you guys left as the encore.
No.
Got it.
This was a different show, like a few days later.
I thought you were saying you heard a few days later that after you left that happened.
No. It was in like Houston or something.
Oh, that's.
But yeah, he left.
Yeah, if
and
it
they
was a
did
whole show like
karaoke.
that would be.
Yeah, they only got
But
2 songs or
honestly,
a
the
song and a
band.
half
I
or
mean, the
something.
band doing that's pretty impressive.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if impressive is the right word.
I
They
mean, to
already
say
know.
that you're one of the people you sang with Bright Eyes Band and got refunded, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, for those 3 people.
But even that, depending on who they brought on stage, you know, it could still be enjoyable. I love going to karaoke if the people are, you know, decent and choose decent songs. Which
If you're planning on going to karaoke, sure.
did the
but-
I wonder if the people like actually knew all the words and stuff, because that's where it gets tricky.
I watched a couple of videos and the guy had his phone out and was like reading the
Oh,
lyrics.
smart.
on his phone while
Not
he
fucking
was-
around. These people
yeah,
aren't fucking
see?
around. I love it. That's great. That's really smart.
But I feel bad. Like the band, I'm sure has been playing with them for a while and is like used to it. But I'm curious how well the orchestra, you know, classically trained musicians are, as far as like putting up with that goes.
Yeah.
Because I could see that being very obnoxious. Like you just drove across the country and dude only plays 2 songs before packing it in. So you know who else was well known for missing shows or leaving shows early or showing up late?
Ooh,
Sly.
really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they were San Francisco hippie types, so they were probably on drugs a lot and stuff, but like the fun kind.
For sure. Well, to a point. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting tie-in. I was like, hey, musicians are still out here leaving their shows early because they have substance abuse
Even when they're
issues.
old. I took almost 0 notes, and I hope that you
Oh,
did a lot
really?
of research. Well, I was driving for most of it, so I really kind of
Yeah.
couldn't.
I was for the first few albums, but I went back and just wrote down a few thoughts about them.
I listened to the first few at home, so that's the only. I have 2 lines of notes. My lines say funkadelic, groovy, and then I wrote 60s goofy for the first couple.
Yeah, they definitely started.
A little
with
on
that.
the goofier
I mean,
side.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the earlier stuff. So they're a soul rock. I wrote the genres of soul, rock, psych, and funk. And I think they definitely started more on the soul rock psychedelic side and then moved in the later years to be like pretty much straight up a funk band. Like they really leaned into the funk side of stuff.
You thought that they started as soul rock psychedelic. That's interesting because what I heard was like that poppy 60s monkeys, like the monkeys type of vibe.
Yeah, that'd be the rock side of it.
Okay, sure.
But they had some soul stuff in there. There's like that gospel soul sound kind of built into it. But there's also some weird psychedelic stuff baked into those early albums too.
Which I love.
That like the weird trippy guitar parts and like a lot of looping. And
I'm telling you, I think the perfect word to describe them overall is funkadelic.
yeah, that's true. We should probably think of a few more though if we're going to talk about them for half an hour.
Funkadelic.
Yeah, the first couple, a whole new thing, and Dance to the Music. I'm powering through this with or without you. Those are a little more straightforward, like 60s rock and psychedelic rock. I don't think those two are really where they found their groove, but I did write that the very first song on the very first album of theirs, it's a song called Underdog. And it is my favorite first track on a first album of any band that we've done so far. Are you serious?
Because
I loved it.
That's the one with the fucking nursery rhyme music happening, right?
What do you mean nursery rhyme song?
The horns in that is doing the Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping?
Oh yeah, I mean
I don't know. That's probably my least favorite song of theirs. Because of those horns playing that song. And do you know why they chose that like nursery rhyme? I don't know if there's a deeper meaning to that nursery rhyme or what. I would be interested to know. I wondered, and I
thought you were going to tell me.
No, I had planned to look it up and never got around to it.
I really like the Underdog song. I feel like it set the tone pretty well for what was to come. And I like those first couple of albums. They're very what's the word? Funkadelic. No, they're really high energy. They're very easy to listen to, and all the songs on them are catchy. There are a couple of like what feel like throwaway songs on there, but for the most part, I think the albums are really good.
How do you feel about the fact that the majority of their songs have little to no lyrical content?
I've been thinking about that, and I think there's a line in that Summer of Soul documentary that said that like their message was like partying and dancing and having a good time, and that they preached the gospel of fun. And I was like, that is
funkadelic, baby.
The message.
Well, yeah, and they're from like the height of Haight-Ashbury, like hippie shit in San Francisco in the 60s. That makes perfect sense to me that they're like that, and that they're an interracial group.
Yeah.
Like all of that made so much sense to me when I found out they were from San Francisco. I was like, oh, duh. Okay, I get it. No wonder I like these guys. Like I would have been friends with them, you know?
Well, I don't think they wrote songs that were like blatantly, it's good to be friends. You know, like they didn't say exactly what their message was. They didn't say like word for word exactly what they wanted. All their songs are about dancing. All their songs are about getting along with each other. All their songs are about like reaching a higher plane.
So was that the album that you said to me one day that you were excited to listen to it because it was the most controversial?
No, that was There's a Riot Going On, which was a little bit later. So those first two are a little more like standard 60s rock stuff.
Yeah, that's the one with the American flag. See, I didn't find that one overly controversial. I thought the one with the Whitey song was like, that's the one that I was like, bing, my eyes were like, oh, they said that. Okay.
Well, it was just because of some stuff that I'd read beforehand that it was like a little bit darker, and it was kind of like the antithesis of the one before it, because that one was a lot more like bright and fun and party. And then when it does get to There's a Riot Going On, it does get a lot darker and slower, and it's not everything's not like about dancing and grooving and stuff. It's a little more soulful and a little more like, I don't know, slow paced and emotional than just like
some of them. It was hard for me to hear the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that had to do with driving or what, but I kept trying to look at them, but they have quite a few albums.
The first two put me more in mind of like James Brown sort of funk, you know, where it's really groovy. There's a lot of danceable parts to it, but his vocals and just the general sound sounded like that funk that had come before. And it wasn't really until Life, the third album, that it got like a little more psychedelic and a little bit more of like their own thing.
That's when I started liking it, when they started getting more of their own flavor.
Yeah. And it really, the first four, I think, are a lot more guitar centered. There's a lot more guitar work on there. And after those, it goes a lot more to bass and drums.
I gotta say, sometimes on these horns, like sometimes on these songs like this, the horns are a little bit much for me.
I love it, but I love horns. I love a good horn section.
I love horns and I love harmonica, but sometimes those two specific instruments make me have to either turn it way down or skip a song because it's like somebody screaming at me.
Yeah. Yeah, they can be a little abrasive.
They are aggressive.
One thing I love about the band is the horn section as a part of the band.
Yes.
Like it's not like the band was
horn trumpet player.
Yeah.
She's so cool. She was
Cynthia Robinson. And I love that they like call each other out in the songs. They're like, Cynthia's gonna do this part. And then Cynthia will come in and sing her part and like play a little trumpet part.
I loved watching her play trumpet on the documentary and then having the audience member be like so happy about seeing a woman playing trumpet, a Black woman playing trumpet. Fuck yes.
And so the band being called the Family Stone, I don't know why. Maybe I'm dumb, but I just always thought of this band as Sly and the Family Stone, just as like that's the name of the band.
I thought that they were family. Like for some reason, I thought it was like a husband and wife or something.
But they're brothers and sisters. I mean, they are family. Those three of them, Sly and Freddie and Rose, are all.
How many people are in the band? Is it 5 or wait?
7?
Okay. There's 2 white dudes.
The saxophone player and the drummer, and then Sly, and then his brother Freddie on guitar, and then Rose Stone on keys, and then Larry Graham, the bass player, who is a legend. And apparently he invented the slap style of playing the bass. Like he invented a new way to play the bass. All that like the slap, that was their bass.
That's
player.
wild. When I was this band is like,
I know.
Oh my God. And I feel like this is a group that kind of, it's weird to say flies under the radar because they're extremely famous and they have a handful of songs that like everyone knows. But I think that the majority of people probably don't know that who sings the song and don't know, like haven't really listened to any of their other shit and don't really know much about them.
Yes, 100%. That's how I was. I mean, that's part of why I wanted to do this band is like, I know this band, but I don't know anything about this band. It's just kind of wallpaper music, you know?
Flies under the radar is not what I should be saying. It should be, this band doesn't get enough credit. Like, holy shit.
I agree. But yeah, all those people being in the band is one of my favorite things about the band.
Super cool.
Because they all, I mean, I know it's Sly and like he is the centerpiece and he's the front person clearly, but they all added little parts on every song. And it just sounded like these are all really great musicians.
It's interesting because I don't really see him. I mean, from what I've seen anyway, I haven't seen that much. But did you watch like many music videos?
I watched some performances of theirs on like.
Did it seem to really center him? Because I don't see him as being overly centered.
There's one. Oh man, it's great. It's from Stand. Take it higher, take me higher, or whatever is the song that they're doing. But it's on the Ed Sullivan Show, and it's clearly later Ed Sullivan. I mean, it's got to be 1969 or something like that. But they play and they're wearing their like fringy, jangly, like sparkly clothes, and they have big hair, and Sly has like a gold chain necklace that he's wearing around his, and they look so cool. They look so cool. I love the style and the vibe.
Well, and some of their lyrics are talking about like that people are surprised at the clothes they're wearing or whatever.
Yeah. Because they look crazy in like the best way.
Well, that's some San Francisco shit. That's like a normal day on the street in San Francisco, even now.
But they're playing on the Ed Sullivan stage, which, you know, is like, you can picture it in your mind, right? They're on the little platforms and all that stuff. And Sly is down on the ground playing his organ, and the 2 guitar players are over to the side, and the horn section is in the back. And, you know, they're playing and grooving, and then they just start jamming, and Sly gets up and runs off of the Ed Sullivan stage and runs out into the crowd, and he's in the little aisle in the crowd, and he's trying to do like a call and response thing, but it's all these crusty old white dudes, and they're just like, standing there, and he does like a hand slap thing on his knees, and they're screaming, and it's him and Rose are out in the aisleway, and they're yelling and dancing around and high-fiving each other.
Like, we're gonna fuck with these
bozos. It was too much for them to handle. It was too cool for them to handle. And so they eventually run up on the stage and
people react to me
the
this
song
way
or whatever.
also.
But
relatable.
It was just like, They're so much fun. Like they just look like they're having a great time
Yeah.
doing it. And
Well, that's the fucking point, right? Shit.
Yeah.
I mean, music is that's what music is for, is to make this horrible life we have a little bit better.
yeah, and I think if there's anything in the like underlying message of the band, I think it's that.
Well,
It's
that's
like,
literally the
enjoy
origins of
yourself.
music.
Yeah.
Is like drumming and shit that came from us trying to make this shit a little more tolerable. Like, let's have a little fun. Let's groove a little bit. Jesus.
Yeah.
Watching Stevie Wonder on this doc, and I'm fucking love Stevie Wonder. Like,
Dude, it was
Stevie
incredible.
Wonder is one of my all-time favorites. Like, he's a god to me. Do you remember the fucking videos we used to watch at Suncoast, that the Johnny Cash show DVDs?
Yeah.
He was on that. And man, those DVDs I would love to see some of that again, because
Yeah.
Neil Young's performance on there. Oh my God. The Johnny Cash show was incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I was watching Stevie play on this doc, I was like, damn, Stevie plays piano. Like he's slapping the bass.
Yeah. It was,
And it makes the piano sound like you're slapping the bass.
It's a percussive instrument.
I mean, it's strings. It's exactly like a bass. It's just, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it was incredible. But he like played piano for a little bit. He played the drums for a little bit. You know, he sang.
Yeah, Stevie, when he got on the drums, I was like, Jesus, he was fucking doing a drum solo for like 10 minutes. It was incredible.
And it was riveting.
Incredible.
Yeah. But their first 4 albums, I think those are excellent records. I think those are excellent albums. I think that is a very, I don't know.
Does your opinion change after
perfect
the 4 albums? Because
career trajectory.
I thought they kept getting better, just kept getting better and better.
The whole way through?
I did.
I think there's a little bit of a turn.
There's a turn, but I thought it was
Stand. Good. But I'm saying like I think everybody will agree that those 4 albums are great. I think those 4 albums are like undeniably
Funkadelic, baby.
Good albums. Yes, Funkadelic. 4 funks on the Funkadelic scale out of 4. But when it gets to There's a Riot, 4 stars. What? How many? What do we need? How many do we need? 5?
5? Yeah.
I'm going out of 4.
9 out of 9 stars. So if we're going to talk about ratings on this podcast, we have got to, if we ever do, I'm just saying, cut this out. You're doing it right now. You said something about 4 stars.
I said 4 funks on the Funkadelic scale.
4 funks. Anytime we rate something, we have to rate it on a scale of 5.
Okay. 5 funks on the Funkadelic scale.
I would love 5 funks a day, please. Take 1 letter out of that.
All right, let's. I knew what you meant before
I
you.
know. I think it's so much funnier to beat a joke into the ground. That is just the funniest to me. Is to be like, but did you get it?
I did, got it both times, every time. Getting it was never the issue.
Does it? So if you don't think it's funny the first time, does it become funny to you after the nudge?
Yes.
There you go.
Which is, I think, why we get along. Yeah. So how'd you feel about There's a Riot going on?
I thought it was. Well, I remember
that's the one with the American flag on it.
I remember not. It didn't really seem that crazy to me. I don't know. When you told me that was the one that was supposed to be controversial, I was like, huh. I thought it was mild.
Well, but I think that's kind of what was controversial about it, is all the other albums had been like party, dance, good times, upbeat, very happy. And this one's a little more
variety's controversial.
Variety and a little more downbeat and a little more like there's a little more singing on here than there is just like, getting everybody psyched up part of it. Do you remember the song Spaced Cowboy?
I don't know.
It's the one with the yodeling in it.
Oh, yeah. I love yodeling. So I was into that.
Oh, I wrote yodeling sucks.
Love yodeling.
I hated it. No, it's so dumb.
Do you hate yodeling and everything?
Dumb. What I felt like was like their serious album, and then it's like, oh, here's 3 minutes of a guy yodeling.
That's why I wasn't getting that out of the album. I was like, controversial, serious. I don't know. It just seems, but I love yodeling. Do you hate yodeling in every version of yodeling?
I mean, Yes, not as like I don't care that it exists, but I wouldn't listen to it as like entertainment.
No,
I don't hate people who yodel necessarily.
dude, I fucking love yodeling, and I always wanted to learn how to yodel, and frankly, I'm pretty good at it.
Let's hear it.
So I do it more like in the car alone, driving long distances kind of thing. I used to drive so much that I would go back and forth between watching how to yodeling videos and how to beatbox videos. So it's always good to have a little, secret skill.
Yeah, I think it's time for it not to be a secret skill
And what's
anymore.
the purpose of yodeling? To like get the sheep to come to you?
I don't know. It's got something to do with mountains and sheep herding or something.
So
or maybe like secret communication. Maybe it was like, you know how in old
smoke signals
they had like one person would light the tower and then the next person would light their tower and then it would light the tower.
I yodeled to John. John yodeled.
Yes, exactly. So they could communicate across long distances.
And then at the end, we all go woohoo and have a beer.
Yeah, I think so. That's it.
So, if I'm ever in a scenario where I need some sheep to do something, perhaps my secret skill will come in handy.
Perhaps.
We'll see.
Or you could play that Sly and the Family Stone song.
And just
see
go
what
all
happens.
out. The fucking yodeling song in Sound of Music is, I think, my favorite song in that show.
Just because of the puppets.
The puppet show is amazing. And Julie Andrews is incredible. And her yodeling skills are off the charts.
The best yodeling is the music that plays in the Price is Right game when the little guy's going up the mountain.
I only very vaguely recall that.
I'll send you a clip, but it's good.
What if I just
yes, that's exactly it.
It's a very like impressive skill, honestly.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying it sucks. In the context of this song,
in the context of listening to it,
yes, as musical entertainment, it sucks. I'm officially on record.
Hilarious.
Nice try, Sly.
I love yodeling.
I'm not buying it. You're not bringing yodeling into this.
I'm in. That is the exact goofy shit that they would do, though. It makes perfect sense for him to yodel in a song. Is it him doing it?
Who can say? Who knows? Because his vocal range is from like very deep to very high. Although my favorite guy is the guy that comes in really low in all the songs.
Yeah,
that's my favorite in funk music. The like
I do
the
love
bass
that part
vocalist
too,
just comes in with the funny one line out of a song really low. It's like, yes, you got in there.
I do love that. That's like my favorite part of a lot of songs is like the stupid one line dude. Like, or even if it doesn't even have to be a specific dude, like it could be just one singer, but if they put in like one little stupid line, like that just gets me every time. Or just a sound. Like when I was in the grocery store earlier, the song came on, like I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight or whatever that song's called. And literally my favorite part of that song is when he just hits the really hard. That just cracks me up every time. And I love that song. And I love doing that part. So yeah, into it.
But this was the last album that had their original lineup. After this one, their drummer and the bass player quit.
The white
dudes?
They
weren't part of the band anymore. The drummer was, but not the bass player.
I wonder why.
No, the saxophone player is the other white guy, and he stayed in the band. Was because of drugs, because Sly was using a lot of drugs over the course of this whole thing.
Yep.
I read a thing that said that he would carry a violin case around with him that was just full of like drugs and a lot of cocaine. And then he was becoming erratic and they just weren't getting along with each other, which it seems like, I mean, this is like 5 albums in, so it seems like they've been a band for a really long time, but it's only 4.5 years since their first album came out to when their 5th album came out. Like they released a lot of music very quickly.
You did mention like kind of phoning it in. I don't know if that's the phrase you used, but I do think that they were just having fun and making goofy music, and a lot of it didn't have a lot of effort put into it. But the fact that, I don't know, it's kind of just like a lot of bands, like a case of the fact that you made it at all way to fucking
Yeah.
go. And you got some gold in there.
Yeah. I think it's all good. There's
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
that I
totally.
would take out from this point at all.
I don't.
So Larry Graham, I want to make sure I mention this because I think it's hilarious. Larry Graham is the bass player. He's the guy that invented the slap bass, and he's, I think, responsible for a huge chunk of the sound of Sly and the Family Stone, probably equal parts with Sly.
Bass players often are.
Because I think there's a change after he leaves the band. I think it gets to be a little more. But he started his side project after he left Sly and the Family Stone, and it's called Graham Central Station.
Yeah.
Which I
Did you listen to any of that?
I did. I listened to a couple of songs. It sounds just like Sly and the Family Stone. I mean, it honestly sounds a little more organic than their later stuff did because Sly started using like drum machines, and I don't know. Some of the bass sounds didn't. Having those two leave, I think, really affected Sly's sound. It began to sound more like studio albums versus like a live band playing together.
Yeah.
After they left for those last 4 or 5
Which
albums.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think so too.
I'm sure he was just still trying to keep it up.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of the stuff was like, I think by that point he developed a reputation for being difficult to, like, I think the live show suffered because I think people wouldn't book him because they didn't know if he was going to show up or not.
Yeah. Well,
And
you
so you
know
can't
what?
sell at a
A fucking
stadium.
lot of musicians are like that too, honestly.
But we talked about why Sly doesn't get the credit that they deserve. I think that ended up being their
Downfall.
legacy. Well, yes, their downfall, but also their legacy. I think that's what they got to be remembered for was erratic behavior and
Partying.
not showing up and partying
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
You know, they have a lot of albums. You were saying they have a lot of albums, but they weren't a band for very long. And I feel like, I think that has to do with momentum being like really key. And especially back in the day when the music industry worked the way it did, it's like, if you don't keep putting out albums, you're fucked basically. So were they on a label or what?
Yeah, I'm sure they were. I don't remember who ended up putting their stuff out though.
I wish that we had more information on. I was unaware of what I was watching exactly when I turned on that documentary, and there wasn't that much information about them on there. It was really fun to watch though. It reminded me of watching the Johnny Cash show because it's just a lot of musical performances, and you can't go wrong.
Sony put all their albums out.
Interesting.
Well, all their early albums. Then they went to Warner Brothers. But kind of at the end, it was like bouncing around.
So yeah, I feel like a ton of bands from back then have a shit ton of albums because of that, because of label requirements, or just like keeping the momentum going, because momentum's really important when you do art. Because if you do one good thing and then don't do another good thing for a lot of years, people have already like basically forgotten about you because.
Well, and especially back then when there wasn't internet or even like recorded TV where you could go back and watch. I mean, the only way to listen to a band was to see them live or to listen to their records. So if you weren't putting records out, people weren't listening to your records. If you weren't on tour, people weren't seeing you live. So you had to constantly be doing one of those two things.
Which honestly, I would argue it's kind of even worse now because you have to be constantly every single day doing shit on the fucking internet now.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite problem where it's like now everything is available. So you have to be doing more just to like separate yourself.
Fucking your band has to have a TikTok, like stupid shit like that.
Which I think Sly would have crushed TikTok. I think this
oh
band
my
would have
God,
been
for
a hoot
real.
To watch it do TikToks, and
or like
I think they would have been super fun
disaster.
to hang out with or to see live, man. Like I would love to see this band live. It seems like such a good time. But there's like 7 more albums to talk about here. Did anything stick out to you post Larry Graham
departure?
Yeah. That's the album's Fresh, Small Talk, High on You was the
when I
solo
saw
album.
Small Talk, I was like, is this gonna be like some family bullshit? And it kind of was.
Yeah, his baby is like babbling on the first.
I'm not gonna lie,
song.
I had to I couldn't make it through that one.
Yeah,
I had to skip.
I thought you might find that obnoxious.
So yeah, I couldn't make it through that one. I tried, man. I made it like at least halfway through, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I get the idea of it. And
I do too. It was sweet, but I couldn't fucking do it. If I was like the type of person that would have a kid or something, maybe I could handle that, but no.
that song is whatever, but we have to talk about Loose Booty. There's a track on this album, Small Talk, called Loose Booty, and my note says Loose Booty is unhinged. It is a bananas song.
We're looking at the lyrics here.
Yeah, what do you got? Read some of those out to me.
Okay.
Because reading it is not going to convey how insane this song is.
Okay.
But try.
Well, this is where we get into where I feel like I need to do some research because some of these words I don't know what they mean. But Shadrach, Meshach.
We got to talk about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Does that not mean anything to you?
Well, I've heard these words before, but that's all I got.
Okay. No, read some of the other lyrics. I want to talk about Shadrach. That's my whole bone to pick with this
I'm
song.
confused about the entire song, to be fair. So let me restart. Okay. The lyrics
Meshach,
are
Abednego.
So
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
yes, that is happening. It says loose booty over and over, which most of their
Yes.
songs are just a few words repeated. And that's what's happening
Yeah.
a lot in this one.
Which is fine.
And then we got some hey, hey, heys. When
Yeah.
you're trying to flee from any fake and grin, I'll tell you what to do from just bring my money in. Find yourself some roots to let it all hang out. Get into some dancing. Do what it's all about. Loose booty.
Loose
So
booty.
if we're trying to flee from any fake and grin, what we're going to do is loose booty?
I think
Is
the
booty
idea
money?
is just like, no, I think booty's your booty. Just let it dance.
He
just let
says,
it be loose.
I
let it be
tell you
free."
what to do from just going to bring my money in. Pirates booty?
Yeah, that's probably it. That probably has something to do with it's a crazy song because it's about dancing and about shaking your booty and having a loose booty and shaking it all around. And then
Hold
in the
up.
background, it has a guy saying Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over and over and over and over and over
And can
again.
you explain that to me?
That's an Old Testament reference. Those were
No
three
wonder I
people
don't know
in
what the
Old
fuck.
Testament times that were like, they said something to make a king mad or something, and the king threw them into a furnace to burn them alive. And this like angel saved them, and so they started the fires. But you looked in, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were all safe from the fire because of this angel. It has, as far as I can tell, nothing to do with dancing or this song or anything.
So, and if you feel like losing, get on out the way. This stuff will be amazing. Here is all you do. How minutes turn to days in doing what I do. Loose booty, repeating the other things, all the things. Now I got to get on. See you in the mind. I want to stay your friend. Oh, leave them blue behind. Only till you send me. Watch me all. You're free. Feel good to relax it. Shake it on like me. Shake it on like me. Is this about doing drugs? Give me your money. It's about doing drugs.
I think it's about dancing. I mean, it's probably also about doing drugs. All of their songs are about dancing and doing drugs. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego do not fit into this. And they repeat it for like 4 minutes, just over and over and over and over again.
Does this story have anything to do with money or drugs?
I don't remember. Maybe. Probably not drugs. Maybe money. But it is not, this is just not the context that I would expect to hear the it brought up or discussed.
There's got to be a deeper meaning to this because these motherfuckers do psychedelics.
I think it's just a cool combination of syllables. I think that's why it's in there. Is it just sounds cool.
Due to a combination of substance abuse and professional pressures, Stone's life had begun to unravel by the time Small Talk was made. It's reflected in loose booty lyrics like, when you're trying to flee from faking a grin, life can be confusing and given any day, blah, blah, blah. This is fucking about drugs, my man. This is Wikipedia. Beastie Boys sampled the words Shadrach, Meshach. Did you know that?
No.
They have a track called Shadrach. Beastie Boys does.
I feel like Sly, though, is ripe for sampling. I mean, every single song it feels like could be sampled into a killer track now.
And a bunch of them are, I'm sure.
I would love to see a list of every Sly and the Family Stone track.
Apparently, BC Boys love Sly and the Family Stone because they also have covered some of their songs.
Yeah, I can see that.
A hardcore punk cover. Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
But yeah, that Loose Booty track
is fucking wacky.
It's so wacky in such a strange way. Like a lot of their stuff is wacky, like the chicken
This
song.
is what happens when you do psychedelics, my man. If you do things like that, it does open up this like some like connections or something in your mind where you can connect this Jesus shit and this other doing drugs thing or whatever it is. You can like connect it all together in your mind where it makes sense. And a lot of the time, other people who have also done psychedelics also see the connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like talking in code.
So that Small Talk was really the last. I feel like after that, it was really like trying to get back into the limelight, you know, like all the rest of the songs, like Heard You, even the names of the albums, Heard You Missed Me,
Okay,
Back on the Right Track,
well,
and Ain't But the One Way, like those last three.
I liked them all, and I thought Heard You Miss Me.
They're not bad.
I was really into Heard You Miss Me. That one got me going.
They had kind of to that point for me moved into just like a basic funk sound. Like it didn't sound that much different from other funk bands. Like you could listen to George Clinton or, you know, some other bands that were doing the same thing.
So on the playlist that I'm making for this, I put songs from this album on there. Like I'm pretty sure I put multiple. I think the most of the songs that I liked the best were towards the end.
Really? Yeah. I love the beginning stuff a little bit more. I liked the little more like rock and psychedelic side.
I mean, I liked it all.
I liked the funk stuff. Yeah, I liked it all too.
This was probably the most enjoyable one.
Yeah, from top to bottom.
Yeah.
The biggest issue is that like you have to be in an up kind of mood to listen to it. Again,
I disagree. When I'm in a shitty mood, if I put on something like this, it helps me not want to kill myself. That's how I feel about the B-52s. It's like you kind of can't be feeling too shitty when that's fucking playing.
I meant more of like it's not a wind down, you know, like it's like a party dance around.
It's way more chill of a wind down than like a lot of the other shit we've listened to, though. Like I was able to listen to it before going to bed much more easily than pretty much every other band we've done, except for Cat Power. Bikini Kill, that's got to be bright sunlight to listen to that shit.
Yeah.
Same with a lot of The Clash and Saves the Day. Who else have we done? Is that it?
Cat Power.
Cat Power will put you right to sleep. Giants. Doesn't matter. They Might Be Giants. That's what I'm thinking of. That's the worst one to listen to at nighttime by far. So I thought Sly was pretty easy to listen to at night, honestly. And, you know, some of it slowed down there towards the end too. So
they did get a little bit
the Sexy Situation song. I liked that. I did see a lot of Prince-ness in this. So Prince vibes. Prince was, I feel like, influenced by this a lot. And so it was cool that when they said something about Prince in the documentary, I was like, oh yeah, agreed.
So their last album was released in 1982, Ain't But the One Way.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of grouped those last three together. They're all good, but they don't have the same, I don't know. They don't have the something extra that all the other.
Well, they were all shorter as well, which I thought was a good choice.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Did you do any research to what happened with Sly after the band broke up, or what, you know, where he ended up going?
No, the shit that I tried to look up, I didn't really find that much. I don't know. And I've also been very busy.
It also, I mean, it seems like he dropped kind of way back into the background. And I think a lot of it was drug related. He produced on a couple of albums. He had some tracks on
You think he was just doing the drugs albums, and that's why he couldn't?
Yeah, I think by this point he was doing a lot of drugs. And then it turned out in like his last live public performance was in 2008 at the Tokyo Jazz Festival. And that whole set is on YouTube. I watched about half of it. And he comes out, and the rest of the band, I mean, they look old. They're in their 50s or 60s or whatever. They look old, but not like old, and Sly comes out and he's kind of like doubled over, and he does not
Well,
look
when you treat your body
good.
like that, you age faster. I mean,
Oh,
can you do?
for sure. And there's
live
definite
hard.
evidence of that. But that was his last live on stage performance. And then I read in 2015 that he was apparently living in a van in Los Angeles. Like he was homeless and living in a van and didn't have any money. And there was like some family that was feeding him. So I don't know. It was a real kind of bummer. After the band broke up, it seemed like it all kind of went downhill, and he never was able to properly recover. I did watch a Letterman interview with him from like 84 or something like that. And David Letterman, of course, was kind of a jerk to him, interviewing him and asking him about being late and all that stuff. But he performed live on the show, and I don't know, it was, I don't know, it's just kind of sad. So it was like, you could tell there was so much potential there, but it never really, unfortunately, he didn't have a 50-year career, where he was putting out a bunch of great music for that entire time. It kind of fizzled out, and he kind of faded away after that.
I thought it was really interesting in the documentary, the part about the moon landing. I'm like, same shit, different day. Like, same exact fucking thing is happening right now as we speak. Some fucking rich people are shooting themselves into space while people are literally starving. It's insane.
I liked one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I saw this reflected in a couple of other different ways there, was how they talked about the influence of Sly on Black music at the time. And a bunch of people said that there was like Black music before Sly and the Family Stone and then Black music after Sly and the Family Stone. And I think they are a really interesting transition between the like Motown, four guys in a suit, everybody dressed nice and singing 4-part harmonies and doing like choreographed dance moves, into the 70s and 80s like funk and soul movement, where it's like a little more, what's the word, it's not quite as organized, it's a little more chaotic, a little more like reflective of individuality versus trying to fit in and trying to be like composed. You know what I mean? Like it got a lot more psychedelic after Sly and the Family Stone. And they interviewed that guy that was at the show, and he was like, when we went to that thing, we were like suit and tie guys, like we wore suit and ties everywhere. And then we saw Sly and the Family Stone, and after that, we were not suit and tie guys anymore. Like I think it just kind of blew open
that's
a
why
new avenue.
I like to encourage people to just be who they fucking are, because who you are is what's going to change the world, not fucking wearing a suit and tie like everybody fucking else.
Well, and I think that's the bigger message with Sly and the Family Stone. I know there's not a lot of lyrical content in there, but I think that's the big takeaway.
Vibe, man.
Yeah, it really is. It's be yourself, do your thing. They have the song "Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again."
You're right. I mean, honestly though, they're, I think, a band that you would think on the surface there's not a lot of lyrical content, but then obviously we go to research this fucking Loose Booty song, and it's a lot fucking deeper than you realize that it is. So, there's a lot of their songs that do have, messages that are pretty clear. Yeah. But they do it in a fun way that is kind of distracting from it. And I think that's how the B-52s are as well. And that's how a lot of art is. And that's cool. And it goes to show you that you can change the world literally any way you want. It doesn't have to be like shouting activism in a very clear, obvious way. And you're still changing the world. Like, that's kick ass. And if people think that they can't change the world as an individual, you're fucking wrong, because people do it all the goddamn time, every day. And that's just kick ass. That's like the only hope we have, frankly.
Yeah, I feel you. And I'm glad that I am very glad that we went down this road. I'm glad that I know all the stuff that I know about this band now. I'm glad I listened to all the songs. Like, I'm glad I got to learn about
me too. And what made you
came
choose
from and all that stuff. They're a very good example of a band that I know a bunch of songs of, and I like all the songs that I've heard, but I don't know a single thing about the band, or even what songs any of the album, or what albums any of the songs were on, or when they were active, or how they got started, or like, were they put together by a studio, or were they, do they know each other? Like, I just didn't know anything about the band. I only knew those 4 or 5 songs that I really liked. And I looked them up and they had a bunch of albums and it was like, oh, there's clearly a lot more than 4 or 5 songs here.
Right.
Like what is it?
Yeah.
What is there?
And that seems to be a trend with you on how you choose bands.
Yeah, that's it. I kind of like thinking of as, filling in gaps or just learning more about the like background of bands of like, I already kind of like this, but there's more like what's under the surface, It's the same thing with the Bikini Kill though. It's like, once you dig more into it, there's so much more to learn about and think about and find out.
And that's literally what this podcast is all about.
Yeah. And it's like snapshots of a time, like we can't go back to when these albums were created, but I think we still emotionally experience things that were experienced at that time also. Like
Absolutely.
it's a weird form of time travel,
like I said, the same shit's still happening.
Yeah.
The exact same shit. Racism, cops killing people, the exact shit. The people going to the moon and not feeding, literally the exact same shit to a T. It's insane. So it's almost not even like time travel. It's extremely relevant still to this day too. It's time travel and not at the same time. That's kind of what I pretend I do every day when I hit 88 miles per hour, but
listening to Sly will help with that. And apparently psychedelic drugs too.
Yeah, that has helped a lot in a multitude of ways.
So in my opinion, I think it's all valuable. I think it's all worth listening to. I think that this band, I think you're right. I think this band deserves more credit than they get. I think that this band should be remembered more than they are, or like celebrated more than they are. And hopefully that'll be the case.
Like people are always talking about shit like Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson wouldn't exist without fucking Sly, probably.
No, the Jackson 5 wouldn't for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, those
their outfits are exactly
70s,
what Sly wore.
Yeah. So I think hugely influential on a ton of people. And aside from all the other context, great songs, just fun, really good songwriting, and just a good time.
This is a nice way to uncover the roots of shit, because like there are like mega superstars like Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, Bowie, Beyonce, there's like that handful of the elite superstars that everyone thinks is like original and changed everything. But there's actually all these baby steps to change that most people just breeze right past, because all they're looking at is Beyonce. They're not looking at all the bitches that made that happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is a really cool and important thing to go back and look at that, just in so many contexts, not just music, activism and everything. Everything made us who we are, good or bad.
Right.
And all the music I've ever heard in my life has influenced me somehow. So any music that comes out of me is all of that culminated together. So it would be really interesting to talk to, which I'm sure that there are interviews for like all these hella famous people, like who are your influences, but it would be interesting to go like into a more in-depth, look at certain artists' influences would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. And especially I think it'd be fun to do both sides of it. Like who were influences for them, and then who did they go on to influence, kind of putting them in that spectrum.
We could trace it all back to.
Yeah. We need a bulletin board and some string. I loved this. I enjoyed this conversation. I loved listening to this band. I don't really want to stop at this point. Like I want to go further down this rabbit hole.
Me too. And that's another thing is I'm like, fuck, now I have to do the next band, and I just want to research Sly and the Family Stone some more.
Yeah. Well, and I will continue to listen to these music. I'm on the lookout now for those first 5 albums that I'm going to pick up.
I love how much I love learning so much. I'm such a fucking nerd. So I love every single thing about this so much. I just wish that capitalism didn't exist so I could devote like all my free time to this. So I did some more research on the Frere Jacques thing.
Yeah.
What's the song called? Underdog that we talked about?
Uh-huh.
And I didn't really get too much more insight other than the internet just saying it was like an unexpected and humorous combination.
But like I did start watching that new Sly documentary by Questlove.
Yeah.
What's it called? Sly Lives, I think.
Yeah.
It's so sick. And so he started singing, and his first recordings actually were when he was a fucking little kid. And it's funny because in the episode, like I was talking about how it's kind of like Michael Jackson vibes. That checks out because he was recording like gospel albums basically when he was a little kid. And that's how he got his start in the church. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of juxtaposition going on with that like churchy shit and his like funkadelic train. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the idea of like music as a way to congregate and have a shared experience with people definitely ties into like church and gospel and all that stuff. So I mean, I can definitely see maybe a different end goal, but like using that as a way to build community and have shared experience with each other. I think that's definitely a way to go. I did want to mention there are like, again, we listen to these albums over 2 weeks and like try to learn as much as we can, but like there are going to be gaps. We're going to miss things with Sly, especially. I think we talk about how hugely influential their music is. And there are some recommendations that I think we want to make, kind of like, I think we've done a little bit more since this recording even, and there's more stuff out there than even that I want to get into. For example, he wrote an autobiography last year that gets into not just the recording and the music and stuff, but like kind of those gap years in between albums and when he was struggling, and it's told from his perspective, and I think there's a lot of value in like hearing his version of the story versus what everybody else said happened to him.
Well, something I wanted to say after listening to this, my main recommendation would be to go listen to Black people talk about Sly and the Family Stone, because we're talking about it. It's coming from a totally different angle. Like, as I was re-listening to it, I was thinking, we are so like, this is so underrated and not talked about enough. It's not talked about enough widespread wise. That's what the angle we can see. But like, I'm sure that there's plenty of Black people that grew up listening and like worshiping Sly, you know, because he was fucking huge back then. And we weren't alive back then too, so it's like,
yeah, for sure, out of time and you know, out of our own element a little bit. And again, we're trying to share our read and our take and our experience on it. But I think the autobiography is really valuable to get his perspective. I think Questlove as a like curator of music history and stuff, like I think he has a really valuable perspective and take on it. So like the books, those couple of documentaries, and like honestly, I think the best way to like honor the vision is to listen to the music and like enjoy it and have the experience that Sly would have wanted you to have listening to it by this art that they created.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so who is our Wheel of Death band?
All right, so Wheel of Death this time is like Sly and the Family Stone, funk, groove, like party, dance, having a great time. So
what
I was really thinking
bad?
like,
who's
in like a funk groove thing, but like not something that would be fun or enjoyable or like good to listen to. There's definitely going to be some funk, going to be some jazz, but probably more on the smooth side of things. We are going to listen to the albums on this Wheel of Death entry of the artist Kenny G.
Oh no! When you said smooth, I was like, not Kenny G, right? Not Kenny G.
Certainly Kenny G.
I assumed you were gonna go play that funky music, white boy.
I
whatever.
did, but they only have one album, and that's just not punishing enough.
Damn, it could be.
Kenny
G's gonna be overtly punishing.
You will, yeah. That may be
really sad. How many albums does Kenny
You don't
G
want to
have?
know. You'll find out if we land on it. You don't want to have that hanging over your head. Too many. I'll go ahead.
327.
It's not 300, but it is a lot.
I hate you. With each additional Wheel of Death entry, I'm like, am I going to quit or what?
We'll see. This we've been to the breaking point. I think with They Might Be Giants, we'll see if one of these pushes us over the edge. All right, so slap Kenny G on the Wheel of Death. And then which artist are we doing next?
Okay, next episode will be the Beastie Boys.
Nice. Okay. I'm into that.
This was kind of a little bit inspired from the Sly episode because we talked about how Beastie Boys sample Sly a lot. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of get like we did Sly and now we can see who one of the many, many bands that Sly influenced.
Yeah, cool. Beastie Boys. That's a good choice. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun too. I think these will be two fun ones back to back. Sly was so much fun, and I think the Beastie Boys will be pretty fun too.
I agree. So this is the 6th episode. If you've been listening, I feel like you can tell by now if you love us or hate us.
I'm still undecided.
Same, quite frankly. That being said, let me tell you about one of our Patreon perks. We have been posting playlists for each episode. One is sort of like the pre-episode homework to get you ready to listen. And then the second one is sort of like the after party of the episode.
Yeah, kind of includes some influences or sounds like, or like if you like this band, you'll like these other bands sort of idea.
Or whatever random dumb joke we decide to make that week.
That's true. Like bands I confused saves the day with for my entire life.
Yeah. So check us out on Patreon at Retrospectrum Pod.
In fact, all social medias under Retrospectrum Pod.
We also are on Blue Sky and Flashes. So check us out there.
Okay, Beastie Boys in 2 weeks. Get ready to fight for your right.
Okay, I'm going to yodel us out.